Hello, and thanks again for joining me as we continue our series, Empowered by the Holy Spirit. Today we're talking about how the disciples produced the proof that Jesus was who He claimed to be, and how you can as well. The disciples had a very difficult job to do. They had to go out to a world that physically saw Jesus. Those people weren't generations removed. They hadn't just heard about Jesus. They saw Him. They saw Him get hungry and have to eat, thirsty and have to drink, tired and have to sleep. They saw Him nailed to a cross and crucified. And then these disciples had to go out to those same people and try to convince them that this Jesus you saw crucified, killed, buried in a tomb was not just a man. He was the Son of God. He's not dead, He's alive. How in the world could they do that? How are you supposed to do that? It was the empowerment of the Holy Spirit in the lives of the disciples and in your life today that enables you to work the works of God, to produce the proof that Jesus is who He claims to be, that the grave could not hold Him, but that He's alive. The disciples didn't try to convince their world that Jesus was who He claimed to be with an introduction, a 3-point sermon, a few funny stories mixed in. They did it by demonstrating the power of God. The same power that God demonstrated through the life of Jesus. You know, some people think God only intended for the first century church to walk in His power. I don't believe that. I believe the supernatural gifts that the disciples in the early church experienced didn't die out thousands of years ago, and that God intends for you to walk in the same power that Jesus did when He lived here on earth. Let me ask you, what would you think of a God who sent His Son here to this earth with power and authority and then turned around to you and said, "You do what my Son Jesus did, except I'm not going to give you the same power and authority"? How could you do that? How could God do that? When Jesus said in Mark 16:17, "These signs will accompany those who have believed." Think about it. "In my name they will cast out demons. They will speak with new tongues. They will lay hands on the sick. They will recover." Who were those signs supposed to follow? Was it meant for the early disciples only? I don't believe so. Why? Because the Great Commission was given to all believers. In the same way that Jesus said, "Go into all the world and preach the gospel." In that same way, I believe demonstrating the power of God through signs, through wonders, is supposed to follow all believers. The reason Jesus could say that we would do even greater things than He did is because He intended that we would be baptized and empowered by the same Holy Spirit that empowered His life. There's lots of reasons why we don't see more believers demonstrating the power of God as Jesus taught that we would. I'm going to talk about that more as we move on in our study about being empowered by the Holy Spirit. And I hope you'll join me next time. Until then, God bless you.